Hello everybody, Mac here. Welcome back to the show. Go ahead and leave us a like because today we are taking a look at Valaverse Action Force Senshi and Night Ops Senshi, which is of course a Big Bad Toy Store exclusive. These are basically the same fighters, just two different paint jobs. And I'm kind of digging this because if you've watched the channel, if you've paid attention when I do the G.I. Joe videos, you know I love me my G.I. Joe ninjas. This is a samurai. So I think this is very cool. I'm actually very surprised that they included something like this into the Action Force line. I didn't think Bobby was into doing characters like this, so this kind of took me by surprise a little bit. It's not just that he's of Japanese heritage, like he has full-on samurai armor, right down to the demon mask and the katana. So, like I said, I'm kind of surprised that Bobby included a character like this. Pleasantly surprised because stuff like this is right up my alley. Now, just like we saw with Pandora, these figures are released in the new blister packaging that Action Force is using for this year, for this series. We have black with blue on this side. We have black with red on this side for the Night Ops. Now, this is actually the first Night Ops figure I've received. I don't know if it's always black with red or if they do this just because it's a Big Bad Toy Store exclusive. But the blister cards look very cool. You can see it has a little foot down here so that the card can stand up if you're like a in-package collector. On the back, we have, with the standard Senshi, the other figures that were part of this wave with Colonel Siege, Atlas, Sidewinder, and the Praetorian, of which I have a few of these we're going to have to be taking a look at. And then we have a really nice promo shot of the figure right here. On this side, we just have a nice promo shot of Action Force Senshi, and the kanjis are the same, it looks like. I'm assuming this is his name. I can't read that. I don't know what it actually says. It could say Action Force for all I know. But they are the same on both packaging, and our action points are 2 for the standard, 3 for the Big Bad Toy Store exclusive. Now, we have different looking file cards down here as well. We have him in full samurai armor over here, a real nice animated shot. Over here, we have a close-up of his face. The print work on the cards is the same. I went through and I took a look at both of them. What it says on each file card is the same, so if you get one, it's not saying something different than the other one. And that's really the only difference between the packaging. So, let us not, well, it's also, you know, that deep. So, let us not worry about the packaging any longer, and let's get these open and take a look at Valaverse Action Force Senshi and Night Ops Senshi. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the standard release of Senshi first, and then after we look at all the articulation, look at all of the accessories, look at everything about this one, then we'll take a look at the Night Ops Senshi and just do a comparison as to the differences. Most of it's just going to be in paint apps, to be completely honest. One of the things that I really like is I do really like the head sculpt on this. I think it's very good. I like this neutral look. I also love just like the paint fade on his hair back here. I think that is a really nice touch. The armor isn't bad. I like how it sort of has this banded look to it, but at the same time, it's also kind of like just padded armor, like modern body armor, I would suppose. The scale mailing up here and along the legs, it's not bad. I just wish it was a different color, and I guess that is my biggest complaint, or maybe even not even a complaint, but my biggest issue, nitpick, if you will, of this figure is that they made a samurai. Let's be honest. That's all they did. They made a samurai, and they just put him in this drab, brown, tan, actually, green, and gray. I would have loved to have seen some color for this figure, especially this standard release of the figure. Maybe red, dark red for like the body. I don't know, maybe black with red banding here or vice versa. I don't know, just something to make him stand out and make him pop, because this is all very just drab. I would have really liked to have seen something like what they did with Kill Switch's colors, something like that. I think that would have looked really good on this figure, which, like I said, is basically a samurai. And I mean, they even gave him the corded silk rope belt right here in the red that really contrasts against everything else. I like the design of the armor. I like the look of the armor, but the color could have really, really gone for just something to make it brighter, make it pop, make it more unique. I get that they're doing this uniform, sort of like military, real world, but it's a samurai, for goodness sakes. He even has a katana, which we'll take a look at in a moment. Now, having said that, I do think the sculpt of the figure is very well done, especially when you get down to the boots right here, just like this new boot mold, this boot sculpt down here. I like that. I'm not even sure it's boots so much as it is just like shoes. I don't know. I really dig that. The new buck, the new body type, I think looks really good. And when we get to the articulation, the butterfly cuts in here are superb. He has some real great travel on the butterflies. The legs are a little loose though, with the drop down legs. My Pandora has the same issue. I don't know if this is maybe just an issue of some of the figures that I get from Valaverse, or if it's an ongoing issue, but the drop down hips on my Pandora, when I pick her up, are sort of dropping on their own, and I have a feeling that eventually Senshi right here is going to be doing the same thing just because of how loose the hips are. Now, with all of that talk, let's talk about the articulation. That the head can look up real well because they have it on a hinge joint. I keep harping on this all the time. I really wish G.I. Joe Hasbro would get back to that. He can look up very well. He can look down very well. He has decent amount of tilt side to side, most of that being because the neck is on a ball joint as well. He can do a full 360 spin, but the neck will do a little bit of a spin with it as well, as you can see. Let's get this straightened out again right there. Arms will go all the way around. Now, they kind of collide, that they'll only come up to about here, and it's not the armor, it's this right in here is a very tight fit. Okay, so I can get them up to 90, but I feel like there's some scrape going on the top of the ball joint going into the shoulder socket. Let's get that back into position. The butterfly joint, like I said, really has some really good travel. Look, you can go from there to there. If this is just what their new male bucks do, I really like that amount of travel on their figures with their butterfly joints right there. Bicep swivel, that the band for the armor fits around the bicep, so when you do move the bicep, the armor moves with it. Double jointed elbows that do have typically some pretty decent travel to them right there, but the chunkiness of the shoulder armor gets in the way from it closing in any further. Wrists pivot, wrists hinge up and down, and these are the weapon wielding hands that hinge up and down. I believe the rest of the hands hinge in and out. We will take a look at that once we get them on. Now he does have the double ball joints in the torso like the Valaverse figures have, that he does have some movement like in the top part of the torso, but the armor is stiff enough that it kind of interferes. You can get some rock side to side. You can get it to crunch forward a little bit. You can get it to crunch back, not so much, but he does have this ball joint at the waist here where you can see he does the full 360. He can crank back a little bit more. He can crank forward a little bit more, and he has much more side to side rock. You saw the drop down hips. Like I said, they're kind of loose. They will drop down and they will come up. Oh, he can do some nice kicks. They'll go back to there. Once again, let's get your arms out of the way. Coming down, even with the armor padding on, they will come out to there. There is a thigh cut that the armor helps to hide. Double jointed knees, that much like with the double jointed elbows, the armor does get, oh, that bottom one is sticking a little bit. The armor does get in the way a little bit, but still I think that's some good crunch right there. Now, believe it or not, he does have a boot cut. It's carved into, or rather cut into the leg right here, that where they have it, it's not perfectly hidden, but it does do a nice job of sort of keeping that shape so that there's not like big flares sticking out when you turn it. So I do like that. The ankles rock back very well. The ankles rock forward, okay. They do have a forward-facing pin for some rocker right there. Now, as you saw out of the box, Senshi comes with a pair of trigger hands. He comes with a standard pair of gripping hands. He comes with a pair of clenched fists. And he comes with my absolute favorite Valaverse edition, and that is the weapon cradling hands. Now, as far as accessories go, the first thing we're going to take a look at is his sidearm right here, and it is a suppressed pistol. And yes, the suppressor comes off, and I'm guessing this is a laser sight. You can even see the lens right there in the middle. And both of these do holster. Oh, come on, get in there. But you can see he comes with a suppressor as well. This, I don't know what this is in real life, but with... yeah, I don't know what that is. I'm not even going to try and guess. I'd probably be wrong. I kind of want to say it's a 1911 with a laser sight and a suppressor, but I don't think that's what it is. But with the holes that are bored out in it, it does accept standard Valaverse blast effects. The barrel of the pistol will take it as well, so you have that option. And then both of these, you may have noticed that while we were playing with the articulation, that he has this holster on the side that you can slip the suppressor in right there, and the pistol fits in right there. Sink that in. The suppressor fits a little tight, and I'm always worried that like I'm going to bend the stem right there, but you can see that fits in there very nicely. A little chunky, but still it works. And then the next piece we have to look at is his main weapon, which is his submachine gun right here. And at one point in another life, I knew what this is, but right now I don't. I apologize for that. I'm just not good at calling them out tonight. But it also has a suppressor that pops off. Now this has a barrel that is way too small to accept any blast effects. However, the Valaverse over the barrel blast effects will work with it as well. Let me get that on. There you go. That will work as well. So that is an option. Pop that off. Also, it has, just like most Valaverse weapons, it does have the removable magazine. It's a little tight right there, but that will pop out. So you pop the magazine in, you pop the suppressor back on. Once again, the suppressor is bored out for a standard Valaverse blast effect. No place to holster or sling the weapon on Senshi, but he has a very good grip on it. This also feels like a softer plastic. I'm not saying it's a soft, flimsy plastic, but it feels like a softer plastic than what I'm used to Valaverse weapons being. I may be wrong about that, but it just doesn't feel nearly as stiff or brittle as some of the other weapons do. And that's not a dig on the previous weapons. I love the Valaverse weapons. I think their weapons packs are game changers. I wish Hasbro would start doing things like that. I've purchased a few weapons packs to actually outfit my Joes with. It's just an observation that it feels like they're using a different plastic on their weapons now. Now for his submachine gun, he comes with 2 additional magazines that do fit in on this side pouch right here. Both of them just slot right in. And there you go. That's what he has on his other leg. And of course we have his katana, and I do believe this is the first time we've seen anything like this in Action Force. I like the design of it. I like the matte black of the scabbard right here. I really like the brass rings around the butt of the weapon, around the scabbard, and down here at the end of the scabbard. And when you draw it, I really like the design of this. I really do. I like the coloring. I like the detail. The only thing that I would have liked to have seen, and it's very small, so I understand why they didn't do it, but if there would have been like some color difference here, like the actual hardwood handle that is underneath the silk wraps, I would have liked to have seen that. But the blade, the design of the blade, the paint job of the blade more than makes up for it. I love the silver that Valaverse uses on their bladed weapons, and it sheathes very smoothly as well. I really like that, and the scabbard has a real nice tight grip on it. Also, you can see this little nub right here on the side. That is to halt the scabbard when you're pushing it into his silk rope belt, because unlike Hasbro, and I've mentioned this before with Hasbro, it drives me crazy, Hasbro always sheathes the katanas in the wrong way. Hasbro tends to do it with the curve down, which is, for the most part, decidedly wrong. Samurai, most as well as anybody that wielded a katana at a certain point in history, did it with the curve up. So you see that nub catches on the cross wraps right there and stops it from sliding down any further. The whole idea is that when he draws, it can come out and slice at the same time and be ready in a guard position. So I really like that they actually paid attention to that. I'm using the wrong terminology, of course. I am not a professional samurai historian. I am amateur at best. Now, with it coming out like this, it looks cool, but it could get in the way of like posing or vehicle riding or ops or whatever you want to say. But what I like is that if you put his arms up, the belt is loose, that you can spin the belt and have the blade actually kind of tee behind him. And I dig that. I think that's real cool. So on this figure, no doubt, he's going to have it up front just like this. Night Ops, I'm pretty sure I'm going to spin it around to the back. And last, we're going to take a look at his helmet. And it is basically your standard Valaverse Action Force helmet, and it does have modular pieces. The pieces are where it really starts to stand out. That first, we're going to look at something that's a little bit more mundane for the Action Force line. And that is, let's get these on, his night goggles. That they can fold up, or when you put the helmet on, they can fold down so that they come down in front of his eyes. That's really cool. I appreciate that. I really dig this effect. I think that's fantastic. A lot of my Valaverse figures that I do have still keep this going on. I think that's a really cool touch. However, he has much more. That if we pop this off, he does have the samurai horns that can go into that socket right there at the top of the helmet, so that when he wears it, it does have his more standard samurai look, but it is not complete, and that is because he's not wearing the Oni mask, and this thing is awesome. I love the metallic silver. I love the detail design of the sculpt. I love the red painted teeth in there. I think this looks fantastic, and it clips onto the helmet just like any of the other Valaverse accessories do. You can see that it has 4 pegs right here, and the helmet has various socket points along the side right there. Now, it's a little tricky to put on, especially if I'm looking through the camera, but if you have Valaverse figures or you've seen any of the other reviews of Valaverse figures, you know how those pop in. So just give me a minute and let me get this seated on here correctly. And there we have the full effect of the Oni mask, and I think that looks fantastic. I really dig what he did here, what Valaverse did here with the mask and the horns, dressing it all up to their standard helmet right here, which I think is really cool. That is a really nice touch, because it also gives you the option of, if you wanted to give him something other than a green helmet, there are other colored helmets that you have to pick from that you could outfit him with. I really dig that. I think that's really cool. I love the whole modular style that Valaverse has come up with for a lot of their gear. Also worth noting that I also find it amusing that just before he announced, Bobby Vala that is, before they announced the 100th figure that was going to be version 2 of Bone Collector, he made a video where at the beginning he kind of mocked and made fun of Snake Eyes, and then like a couple of months later, there's the announcement that a samurai is joining the ranks. Just saying. So here's the Night Ops Senshi, and to be completely honest, he is basically the same figure. Not basically. He is exactly the same figure, right down to his accessories, as the standard release of Senshi. So you may be wondering, why did I get both? Because we both know I'm going to use the Night Ops version, and we both know where the Night Ops version is going to end up. Rise to the sun with 7 wishes. The reason I got both of them was because in the original photos that were on Big Bad Toy Store, I thought he was basically just all black, and I thought that was kind of bland, that I was going to get both figures and use them to mix and match the armor to sort of give him just a little bit more color, a little bit more pop, a little bit green. But you can see that right here in the buck, there is some green coming out. There are some green accents coming out. Plus he has a much darker red silk banding down here on his sword belt. So I'm actually kind of happy with the paint job for the most part, the paint apps for the most part of the Night Ops Senshi. But there's one area where I think it just doesn't work. Look, I get what they were going for. They were going for the Oni face paint, which is a standard among the samurai. But I think what doesn't work for this, for me, is first of all, this big black mustache that they painted on him right there. That, once again, I am not a professional samurai historian, but every image I've ever seen of the samurai with the Oni face paint, they have the red lips, but they very rarely have a black line going across the upper one right there. If anybody knows any differently, please tell me in the comments below. But the black I've seen is usually reserved for up here around the eyes to bring them out, to make them pop, to like give them that sort of crazed look, to be completely honest. The other thing that I think doesn't work on this is that they kept the head sculpt flesh tone. Every time I've seen it, it's always had a white base. And then they put all of this war paint, all this face paint on over top of the white base. I really think they should have gone with that, where they give him the white face paint first and then done all of this on top. I honestly don't know which head sculpt I'm going to use for my Night Ops, if it's going to be this one or if I'm going to swap it out for the regular one. As I said, Night Ops Senshi comes with all the same accessories as the standard version of Senshi, right down to his submachine gun, his sidearm, the suppressor, the extra magazines. We also have, like I said, I moved the Night Ops one around the back. We have the same katana and the same sculpt, the only difference being that it has silver accents on it instead of brass. Also, I'm not sure how I feel about the all-black Oni mask and helmet and horns. It looks cool, don't get me wrong, but I feel like you also lose a lot of the detail that silver really brings out. And it does kind of all just blend together. So we have this, but tell me what you think of this. We have the silver on the black helmet, we have the black straps, we also have the red teeth going with the red highlights of the Oni face paint underneath there, as well as the red highlighting on the horns on the top of the helmet. This is what I meant previously, that like you can take pretty much any helmet you want and swap out the parts, that modular swapping that Valaverse or the Action Force line has. Realistically, bright silver for a Night Ops team, I get it. It wouldn't happen. But aesthetically, I think I kind of like this better than just the all black. It adds just a little extra something, adds a little pop to it. Also kind of goes with the silver highlighting of his katana right there. And the dark red actually goes with the red silk rope wrappings. I think this is going to be my Night Ops Senshi. Okay, so here we go. Putting the tape measure to them, we can see that Senshi, in both forms, is approximately 6¼ inches tall to the top of his head. You can see that puts him right in line with other Action Force figures. Here he is beside Pandora and Deluxe Sniper Blowback. That also sizes him up well with G.I.Joe classified figures. Here he is beside Coral and Lieutenant Falcon from the Walmart exclusive Night Force 2-pack. Here he is beside Hasbro Marvel Legends Daredevil, Elektra, and Blade. Here they are beside Mezco 112 Collective, Wonder Woman, and Storm Shadow. Here he is beside Loose Collector's Rob Liefeld Extreme Universe, Bloodstrike, Cabot Stone, and Blood Wolf. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. And finally, here they are beside NECA Toys, Warduke, and Grimsword. I think this is a great addition to the Action Force line. I really do. It expands upon that military figure motif that Action Force has going on for them. It really seems like the factions get some of the best, the coolest, the most interesting looking figures. Like you have the Swarm figures with their like Wasp jetpack kind of deal. You have the new Praetorian Android Troopers. You have the Garrison Cavalry, I think it was, that kind of look like knights in armor. Like, all of those have some really cool aesthetics, some really cool looks, and just add something a little different to the line. it's about time, honestly, that Action Force got something to go along with that. And what else could you do other than just putting a samurai into the mix? I really appreciate that Bobby resisted the urge, or not the urge so much as the cliche of adding ninja into the line, like what started with G.I. Joe. Because as much as I love my ninja characters in G.I. Joe, I fully admit that it's sort of become a cliche at this point, that if you're going to have a military action figure line, it seems like there's always going to be a ninja in there. And I am part of the problem. I absolutely love that. But the inclusion of a samurai in it, and yes, there is a samurai in G.I. Joe, we just haven't gotten him yet, but the inclusion of a samurai into it is something a little different. Like, it's something that will appeal to that demographic that likes having the ninjas in their military soldier line, i.e. me, but it's different enough that it's going to stand out on its own. And honestly, with the samurai cast, it kind of makes a little bit more sense having a samurai involved with Action Force rather than throwing a ninja into the mix. Although I wouldn't hate it if one of the factions had, like, you know, a ninja arch nemesis at some point. That would be really cool. I like the Night Ops figure much more than I thought I was going to. I thought it was going to be a very bland, just all black, but the different grays in the suit, the greens in the buck, I think really adds a little extra something. Even the Oni face paint, for as much as I don't like that big black mustache that's painted on him, and I really do wish it had the powder white foundation, the face paint is starting to grow on me. Because I do have to admit that the Oni face paint does add a little something to Senshi. Like, it adds this danger, this sinisterness to him. Like the standard version of Senshi, he kind of looks more laid back, more philosophical, more cool-headed. But once he puts that Night Ops gear on and that Oni face paint, he's just ready to murk somebody. As far as the paint apps go, I'm still a little upset, and this is a personal thing. This is not a critique of the figure. I'm still a little upset that the standard issue of Senshi is just such drab, bland colors. They could have really done something to, like, make this pop, make this stand out. Having said that, I do think it's a very good figure. I love the new bucks and the new articulation that this wave has going on. If this is an example of what all of the other ones are going to be, especially with that butterfly cut, I feel like we haven't seen that range of motion in an Action Force figure, or even in G.I. Joe or any of the Hasbro figures for that matter, with that deep cut on the butterfly and the way that Valaverse outfits their figures with that overlay armor. There, you don't see, like, that cut in the buck because the top armor is basically shielding it from sight. I have a few more Action Force figures of Wave 5 to take a look at, and now I'm more excited than ever to see them. Happy New Year, everyone. The holidays are over, and it's great to have you all back. To celebrate the new year, go ahead and leave a like on the video, and while you're at it, you might as well subscribe if you haven't already. If you're a returning subscriber, I would like to thank you for coming back and joining me for 2025. If you would like to help this community of collectors grow, you can do so by joining the Steel Core. You can do that by becoming a channel member or a coffee page subscriber. Either one gets you access to members-only videos, the Discord, and eventually members-only live streams, all for $1 a month. You can join by clicking on the button below this video or by clicking the link to my coffee page in the description below. It's a new year and new things are coming to the channel. So play well, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.